I hope you'll enjoy this episode of The Mom View, sponsored by the Herzog Foundation. For too many years, we've been living in an upside-down culture of gender madness. Children have been taught that they can change their gender as easily as changing their clothes. Well, if Supreme Court Justice Brown Jackson can't answer the question, what is a woman, how can we expect anything more from our children today? Well, on The Mom View, a young woman will share her story of indoctrination, a nurse blows the whistle on illegal gender procedures for kids, and so much more. So stay with us. We'll be right back with The Mom View. Welcome to The Mom View. We're so glad that you're here with us. Of course, on the couch I have Allie, and I have Kimberly, our regular host, and we have Angelina Banks as our guest host this week on this show. So thank you so much, Angelina, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Well, we're going to have some very interesting conversation as always, ladies. We're talking about gender on this show. So I just wanted to mention a couple of things that President Trump, when he came into office, felt like he had to do and actually define. The first month, Kimberly, he did
Two weeks.
Right. I mean, first couple weeks, President Trump has steps up to the plate to protect women, to protect men, really, too. So on the first day of office, he signed an executive order. It's interesting that we had to do this, defining male and female.
Right. Can you imagine?
The fact that the President of the United States has to make a statement from the White House that men are men and women are women.
Yeah, the government will only recognize two sexes, okay?
Wild.
Right. And then 8 days later, thank you, President Trump, for this one, the president signs an executive order protecting children from chemical and surgical mutilation.
Yes, that was huge.
I mean,
well done.
thank you, President Trump, for that. And then this is one that we were all at. Moms for America was invited to this executive order signing when he wanted to protect our female athletes and our female spaces. And he signs the executive order keeping men out of women's sports. These are things that we have never had to deal with because it was obvious. Women played in women's sports. We knew that female was, like we're just talking about Supreme Court Justice. We never mutilated children, and we never had to define gender. But welcome to today's world and today's culture.
It's like a total reset on common sense.
For me, it really hit home. I have two small children, two young girls, but I also am the aunt of athletic girls. And I watched my oldest niece play volleyball. And the fact or the opportunity to be snatched from her after years and years of hard work. So I'm thrilled that common sense has returned to the White House.
I kind of feel like that common sense aspect of that is like when you have the far left and they talk about how much they care about women and they want to protect women, but yet they're not standing up to actually do that. They're actually advocating for the complete opposite. And they talk about, disbanding the patriarchy, right? But you're handing it over to men. You're advocating for men to be in women's face, actually, is what it is.
Yes.
You're just amplifying a man who has this idea that putting on a dress and wearing makeup makes him a woman. That's not what makes us women.
No.
It's really disheartening, and it's really offensive, actually.
They're really out to confuse our children.
1,000%.
And when you can take away their own identity, their God-given identity, that's like probably the greatest slap in the face that I could think of.
Yes.
It does not matter how many drugs you take or how many surgeries you have.
You will never be
if
a
you
woman.
were born a girl, you're going to die a girl. If you were born a boy, you're going to die a boy.
Right.
Nothing is going to change that. So you're deceiving them and you're setting them up to fail. You're confusing them, and everything that gives them that solid foundation to launch from, believe in, and rise to is gone.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things that's happening in the school system that is just devastating, that they're using the curriculum and the whole entire school policies to push these ideas on these kids, and they're not ready to comprehend what those situations, what those conversations, what it actually means.
Yeah, and the fact that they're pushing the drugs and young women are sterilizing themselves. And this is things that they can, when you cut off your breast, when you have all
They're
these
gone.
procedures.
So sad.
And then there's so many young women now, like Chloe, and a lot of women are coming back and saying, I never intended to do this. I was really just kind of in a bad place.
Right. A bad
And this
decision, a
is
weak
what
moment.
happened. So thanks to President Trump for protecting our girls. But these are things that we have to do as moms, keep talking about this in our home and in the culture. So let me tell you about what's coming up. We have a young woman that is going to join us today to tell us her story of gender indoctrination at the hands of her friends and teachers. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Josh Mann, Managing Editor of The Lion. The Lion is an initiative of the Herzog Foundation, and we publish articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. In covering these topics, we also touch on aspects of parenting, family life, faith, government, and other relevant cultural topics. We publish news stories every day aiming to produce timely, critical, must-read news articles and resources for families, educators, and leaders. Read the latest in education and cultural news at readlion.com. We also offer easy-to-digest daily and weekly email newsletters. Subscribe today at readlion.com/subscribe.
Welcome back to the Mom View. Penny Portillo and her mom, Taryn Swain, are joining us today. Starting in 6th grade, Penny went through a period of gender confusion. Penny will join us today on the set to share her story, and Taryn, her mom, will share her journey on how she helped her daughter. So welcome, Taryn. Welcome, Penny, to the Mom View. We're so glad to have you.
Thank you for having us here.
All right. Taryn, I just want to have everyone share a little bit about the situation in your home. And I know you feel that this really contributed to some of the issues that Penny was experiencing. So home, change of schools, change of friends, all these things were happening and kind of collided.
Correct, yeah. So I was going through a really difficult time. I was going through a divorce, and it really becomes the kids who are vulnerable who get swept up in these, what we're going to talk about here. So I always like to start out with yes. The answer is yes. My children were vulnerable. And I don't know if I've spoke too much before on, but both of my girls, I have 2 daughters. Penny is my oldest, and then her sister, who's 2 years younger than her, also got swept up in it, but she has a very different personality. So she had kind of a short stint in the gender confusion type of ideology that's going on. And then Penny, it just grabbed her a little different. And so we were going through a really difficult time at the house. Me and my ex-husband, her father, were going through a divorce. And so my kids were broken. I mean, that is just the reality of it. And I think it's a really important part to talk about because my kids went from homeschool, being home all the time with mom, to put into public school.
Because of the divorce, you had to put them into public
because
school.
I had to go back to work. So we had to put the kids in public school. And I think in hindsight, looking back, I also think it's important too, which I know in California has been an issue, of that when you have one parent who's on one page with the gender ideologies and a parent who's on another page, it's the courts are going to side with the certain narrative of the gender ideology. So I was also in that pickle as well, is that I saw what was going on in the schools, wanted to pull my kids back out, and I was now at odds with Penny's dad not agreeing. So
this was the setup. So Penny, you end up all of a sudden it's hard at home. You're now in public school, and this was a new experience for you, and new friend group, and actually a whole new world of ideas. Can you share that with us a little bit?
Well, it's all really difficult to talk about, in all honesty, because that was my reality in a lot of sense of I was coming from a lot of brokenness, but that's kind of the community I hung on to just because I was so lost and so broken inside that, in all honesty, it did give me a lot of comfort to know. But I think in the overall sense, it destroys you in the end. And it left me a lot more broken than I had realized coming out of it. if that makes sense.
So did you suddenly had a community of people that were welcoming you, wrapping their arms around you because you were accepting this idea?
Yeah.
So what happened when you decided to not accept the idea?
Well, it's really funny actually, because I had a best friend for about 9 years, and after coming out of it, she gave me a ton of pushback. And it was actually really sad because, I mean, I see her as like, dude, you were a part of my life. You were someone like I had gone through ups and downs with, and you helped me in certain areas that no one else has. And knowing that you were such a big part of my life, and then yet because I changed, because I got better, because I found truth in Jesus, like, it's really hard to see people like that turn against you and really be like, I don't respect you anymore.
When you went to school, what were they telling you? What did these friends, they said you can kind of just become someone else, and you had never really heard that before, right? You were never thinking I could become Penn, I could become male, I could be neutral.
Yeah.
And how quickly did this kind of become a part of you? Temporary, thank God. Look at how beautiful you are now, but for a moment you really bought in.
Yeah, so it's funny because it actually started the first day of school. The first friends I had ever made told me about her experience with a girl in the bathrooms, and I was shocked. I told my mom about it. I was like, dude, what am I, like, how do I even react to that? Because first friend I make is telling me how she was making out with a girl, and what? How old are you when you go into 6th grade? Like, you don't understand.
11, right?
Yeah, you don't understand. You don't understand what you're being told, and that was just friend-wise. But even the school, like, we would do these like get-to-know-me sheets. That was like a big thing, and even in freshman year when homeschooling, I had them. So it's not just in public school, but it's very more public, not public.
Promoted,
Coded, yeah. It's small. It's very small to where it's a get-to-know-me sheet. It's asking you, hey, if there's a name you prefer, tell us about it. If you're not feeling comfortable with who you are, like, hey, like, what are your pronouns? Like, it's very small. It's not like, I want to say suggestive, but it is.
It is.
Subtle.
It's very subtle in what they do, and it's by design in the end.
So they kind of brought up conversations you hadn't even thought of before based on the questions that they were asking you.
Yeah.
Like, what is your pronoun? How do you get along with your parents? One of the things that's always frustrated me is they start with this like one question.
Right.
Do you feel comfortable in your body? What kid between 11 and 14 feels comfortable in their body?
Yeah, you're not.
Or
So
what
you're-
gender would you like to be?
Right.
And they give you all these choices, and all of a
you're
sudden you're
like,
going, I
didn't
didn't know I
there
had
was a
choices.
choice.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's very subtle. It's like asking first, what's your favorite color? Like, what is your favorite hobby? What are your pronouns? It's very subtle. You're not going to find it very easily, and that's why I think too a lot of people that are in that community is like, no, we're not pushing anything. We're not like doing anything. Like, we're not. Like, what are you talking about? We're not pushing this in schools. When in reality, I didn't even know, like, you're not allowed to do that.
Right.
You're not allowed to put like a one-sided party question
Right.
where you're just not. Like, pride flags in the classrooms, I didn't know that was not allowed, because then it's showing like, hey, this is what I believe in.
Right.
Where teachers are supposed to be an unbiased party and supposed to teach you, hey, this is one side and then this is other side. Even in homeschool right now, I'm only learning about the left side party and learning that, like, democracy and all of that, and just Democrats, like, that's all I'm learning. I haven't really learned a lot about Republicans and like the
balance.
the balance. I haven't learned that, and it's very left wing, and it's very like
Knowing your mama.
I'll make sure that
You know everything.
She has no choice.
Right. Well, that brings me to this question, Taryn. Did you see changes in Penny, and
let's see what
how
you say,
quickly did you see them, and what were those changes?
Yeah, so I really saw the first year that she was in public school, the first thing to go was the hair. So, which you're kind of like, okay, girl. And I mean, I went through like 15 hair phases when I was in high school.
And we've all gone through the
we've all
tomboy
done
stage,
that.
right?
So I'm like, okay, normal. Then I saw the breasts being kind of flattened. Then I saw she was wearing boxers, boys' boxers. And it turned into something where I was like, something's that mama gut went off. And I was like, something's not right. And just hearing, and it was both my girls too. So their hair got chopped and they just started wearing very male clothing. My other daughter actually was in a girl-on-girl relationship that I didn't even find out about till a year after that she was. So it is a contagion that I like to say the school manufactured. So they manufactured a complete contagion. We see that now. Now we start to see that, and I think we're going to be even more shocked as the numbers catch up with what all the moms knew.
Right.
So the numbers, and there's gender ideology clinic nurses coming out now and speaking out saying, I'm not doing this anymore because of the numbers. It went from, I think the latest result was during 2020, they went from seeing at their minor children gender clinics, they went from seeing about 6 boys a month to it jumping to 60 to 70, 80% female.
Yeah.
So in the numbers don't lie.
Right.
Okay. So what happened?
Right.
Yeah. What happened?
What was being
on
pushed?
A mass level to that age group? That is an epidemic. Well, and it was a social contagion that was manufactured by the education system, and both of my daughters were victim of it.
Yeah.
And as a mom, so you asked me, what did I start seeing? The cutting started. Her and her sister were both cutting. She struggled a lot with suicidal ideations. And she can speak on that a little bit because that group, that the gender ideology and the transgender group, they're all struggling with those things.
Sure they are.
They're all cutting, which, if we go into the spiritual aspect of that, that's demonic. We see in scripture that demons cut themselves. They, so then you start to go, wow, there's something going on here. And so I started, that's when I was like, this is bigger than just my daughter's going through a phase. She's cutting herself. She's feeling suicidal. She didn't even know, which is, I always think very interesting. So she's an artist. She's got a beautiful, beautiful artistic ability. She was drawing satanic symbols and pedophile symbols all over her room. And I was like, do you know what this means? Wow. And she was like, no. And so I pulled it up and I had to show her. I said, Penny, I said, this is what where are you seeing this stuff? And she was like, I don't know. There's an influence that started and it was so strong and you could not, I've spoken on this before. She was more accepted with the gender ideology situation with her dad. And so we were fighting a lot during that time because I was not going to change my stance. I felt resolved in the Lord. No, you're the best thing you can do when someone is believing a lie is to lovingly tell them the truth.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And at that time, the truth obviously felt hateful. It felt, I was coming up against a lot.
Yeah.
And so she moved in with her dad.
Yeah.
And it was a really, really difficult time. And I think it's so great that you guys touched on what the community did to her as well when she's started pulling out. We had an incident just 2-3 weeks ago. We went and spoke at a school board in our town, and her old best friend that she spoke about ripped her online. It was bad, calling her every 4-letter name in the book, and just lambasted her publicly online for coming out of it. Yeah. And so, one of the number one things in a cult, right, is how do they treat you when you leave?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we know. Yeah. We know how you get treated. You do not get treated with love and respect and understanding. You only get that when you're part of it. Yeah. So I know that's been difficult.
So Penny is look at this beautiful gal. So we just say, look what God has done in your testimony. So now tell us where you are now and what happened to you. How did you come to the truth.
How'd you rescue yourself?
Yes.
I know Mama was fighting for you, but
yeah,
you had to make that decision.
Yeah, it definitely, I would say my mom had a lot of influence with just telling me the truth and telling me like, hey, there's something better. Just it really did take me to like figure it out, but in the end, God really saved me. That's honestly how I'm here at all.
Amen.
And
Could you describe that moment where you felt that, if you're okay with that?
yeah, it's okay. It's definitely a slow burn for me, but one of the probably a deep moment that comes to mind is actually when I was crying and I was praying in my room, and I was just saying like, Lord, I feel so like deeply connected to who I am. Like I believe I'm gay. Like I don't know. That's who I believe I am. But if Lord, this is wrong, or if this is, because that's what I was so confused about. Like why can't I be Christian and why can't I be gay?
Right.
And I was so conflicted in my like soul about it that I was like, dude, what am I doing wrong? Like, Lord, if this is not what you have for me, or if this is not like your way, Lord, just show me and like reveal it to me. Like, what is holding me back? And he kind of revealed to me like I'm the only thing holding myself back. It's not that the fact of I'm gay. It was just the fact of I wasn't allowing myself to.
You were fighting it.
Yeah, because I wanted so bad the things I had made for myself, the identity I made for myself. I wanted to keep that so bad, but in the end, I knew I had to let it go for better.
Who do you put before me? That's really good.
And so
I
you let
wanted
go.
our
Amen.
Younger, our moms and our younger audience to understand what that feels like, what that looks like, because I think a lot of people don't understand that when you cry out to the Lord and you ask for clarity or you ask for guidance, He gives it to you.
Yeah.
So it's
And
important.
I've gotten permission from her to share this too, and I would be doing a disservice to any mom struggling with this if I didn't give credence to the spiritual aspect of it, because she had a night where she was delivered. She was delivered. We had a moment where we were praying together and she cried out to Jesus, and and it was hard for her to even say his name at first. And through that night, she doesn't remember part of it, but she was in her sleep praising him.
Wow.
And I woke up as a mom, obviously just a mess, and praising God. But, there was something bigger going on. Yeah. And I think as a mother, want to encourage moms, keep praying. This is where you fight on your knees. Yeah. And we have to engage with spiritual weapons to fight a spiritual war.
Intercession.
And talking points are great.
Yep.
That's great. Okay. But that's not going to break a stronghold.
Right.
Okay.
You have to live it.
That's not, talking points are great. I can come up with a really great, catchphrase and Instagram post or whatever, but in the mud of our sin and the depravity that the enemy comes after our soul with, it is only Christ who comes in and brings life. And I have had a front row seat as a mother watching the prodigal story play out. And you better bet I was that dad who was running down the road to my daughter, just going, "You're home. Here's the best robe. Here's the feast," So it's, it's a time of rejoicing. I mean, even being here, this is a celebration time. Yeah. And,
there's nothing more powerful than a mother's prayer.
Yes.
I think your prayers definitely helped her through this.
And we've watched you on this journey, so it's been amazing. So Penny, thank you so much for sharing this story. I don't know if anything is more powerful than a young person sharing it and being this living testimony, and to you, Taryn, for fighting for your daughter. This is what all of us as moms need to be doing. So right after this break, a nurse at the nation's most premier children's hospital blows the whistle on their illegal gender practices and procedures. And instead of the hospital being investigated, Biden's FBI threatened her safety and her career. That's coming up next.
America is under attack. Our families are being crushed under the politics of a radical agenda. But moms have had enough. We are standing up and we are fighting back.
This is our battle. This battle is every bit as important as the Revolutionary War because we fight for the same thing.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
I think Moms for America is exactly on track and is doing the right thing for the future of our country and our children.
Like, Moms for America is going at the heart of the issue.
I want to go on the record and say I'm for moms, I'm for America, and I'm especially for Moms for America.
But I am honored to join Moms for America today as we speak out against the horrific mandates.
With a national network of over 500,000 mothers, Moms for America is one of the fastest growing movements of women in the country.
Well, the most dangerous place in all of nature is between a mama bear and her baby cub.
We are the change. No matter what, no matter where, and no matter how difficult the obstacles are that are facing us and our families, we will not give up and we will not give in.
So if not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Welcome to the Momland Revolution.
In the summer of 2023, our next guest became the second anonymous whistleblower against her employer, the Texas Children's Hospital. Now, nurse Vanessa Sivadge confirmed that the hospital's transgender program was fully functional and it was also operating in secret. Although whistleblowers are supposed to be protected in the Joe Biden's Justice Department, that was not the case. All right, welcome, Vanessa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
What a story. I'm just going to say, can you start out when you realized it was wrong and it was happening and it wasn't supposed to be happening? When was it? That was 2022?
Absolutely. Yeah, I accepted what I considered to be my dream job at Texas Children's Hospital in 2018. I've been a nurse for the last 10 years. I've had the privilege of working with children and their parents, and I love my profession. I love my patients. I love advocating for their health and well-being. And in 2018, I accepted this position at Texas Children's Hospital, which is the largest children's hospital in the United States, the most prestigious hospital for children. People come from all over the world for their kids to be treated here. And so I accepted this position thinking that I would be here for the rest of my life. It was this just tremendous honor. And a couple of years later, in 2021, I found myself accepting a transfer role in a different clinic, the multi-specialty clinic, in which the endocrine clinic was taking place. And under the endocrine umbrella, of course, is the gender clinic, where children confused about their biological identity were being seen on a weekly basis. And I did not know that when I accepted the position. But over the next several months, I started to see some really concerning trends and practices occurring at the clinic. Among them were, as many guests who have sat on this couch before have testified, that many of these girls walk into a gender clinic very confused about their identity. Many of them are depressed. Many of them are anxious. Many of them are autistic. And the most important thing that I think is not talked about enough is that we know now that almost 50% of children who are confused about their identity have been sexually abused.
Wow, that's a staggering statistic.
And I saw that. I testified that is 100% true. Many of them have had suicide attempts in their medical record, in their chart. And so these are deeply vulnerable children who are really suffering. And that was devastating to me, just to kind of put all those pieces together. And so I knew that what was going on was wrong. I saw how parents were convinced that initiating their child down this medical conveyor belt of pharmaceutical interventions would be life-saving, quote-unquote, life-saving treatment. And nothing could have been further from the truth. That was a lie.
Were you able to speak that truth? You couldn't come against that. You really had to almost support this journey, right?
Well, exactly, because, there is just so much fear of retaliation in the hospital system.
Obviously, the FBI came after you.
Yes.
How's anybody supposed to stand up and speak truth when you have law enforcement that's threatening you if you do?
When did that occur, actually?
Yeah, so after I came forward anonymously in May of 2023.
This is the first time?
Yes. Okay. I affirmed the testimony of Dr. Eitan Heim, who was also an anonymous whistleblower at the time, and essentially just showed the world that Texas Children's Hospital was concealing the existence of this program from the public, which was 100% true because I was working in it.
And 100% illegal, going against the law, right?
It wasn't illegal at the time,
okay.
Because Texas had not passed SB 14 yet.
Oh, I see. Okay,
but because of the reporting that came out, they did.
Okay.
And so that was the key thing that kind of swayed a lot of legislators on the Texas House to flip their votes. And so a couple of months later, it was July of 2023, and there was a knock on our front door, and 2 federal agents had been sent from the Biden Department of Justice to my house. They identified themselves, they flashed their badges, and our Ring camera captured this exchange, which has now been viewed over 6 million times on X. And it was absolutely outrageous that instead of investigating the hospital who was perpetuating the irreversible harm on children, that they're instead investigating a nurse who just exposed what they were doing in the first place. And so it was such a terrifying encounter. They threatened my career. They said if I didn't collaborate with their investigation, that they couldn't protect me and that my future and my safety was at risk.
It's unreal.
And so, you know, it's like that moment was, I think of the quote, you know, man's rejection is God's redirection. And that truly was a pivotal moment where I was redirected, and God clearly spoke through Ephesians 5. It says to take no part in the worthless deeds of evil and darkness, but instead expose them. And so I took that to heart. I took that very literally. And that ultimately set the stage for when I came forward publicly in June of 2024 with the Medicaid fraud that the hospital was engaged in.
Explain that.
So
explain
Medicaid fraud. That's what everybody wants to know. How do they get away with this?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in the state of Texas, there's a statute that since 2015, the Medicaid policy has been very clearly outlined, saying that no gender-affirming care or gender treatments in any way can be covered by taxpayer dollars, because Medicaid is, of course, funded by our taxpayer dollars.
Right.
But the hospital is not interested in following the law, and they, in this case, were not interested in concealing the fact that they were breaking the law.
And the financial, they want the money for all this.
Of course, of course. And so it's really just mind-blowing how, you know, I was just going about my daily work, and lo and behold, there are children with Medicaid listed on their chart, which any nurse knows that, like, you can see who every patient is covered by, which insurance they're covered by. This is not, everyone is able to view that. Who's working with the child, of course. And so that just raised a lot of red flags for me. Like, that just didn't make sense how the hospital was getting away with this. And not only that, but they were also misdiagnosing patients intentionally, which is also a crime. They were lying about the patient's medical diagnosis in order to conceal the fact that they were defrauding the government.
And they were changing their identity. So Jane became John so that Medicaid would cover it.
Yes, and that's, again, it just adds to the layers of deceit, because once the hospital changes the biological sex on the chart to reflect the false gender identity of the child, then they do the false billing, and then that doesn't raise any red flags when insurance gets that piece of paper for the billing.
Wow.
It is.
And so it's fraud. And so that's what I came forward publicly with. I worked with journalist Christopher Rufo in June of 24.
Awesome.
And he's just a phenomenal journalist. And soon after, the hospital placed me on leave. And 2 months later, in August, I was fired.
So before they put you on leave, were you experiencing any pushback from other people that you were working with? Did you vocalize? Did you feel comfortable vocalizing, like, this is wrong, why are we doing this?
That's a great question. It's very difficult to describe the culture of fear that the hospital kind of interweaves into the fabric of their values and what they promote ultimately. And, there were a couple of coworkers of mine who also had concerns, and I spoke with them, but in literally the dark corners of the hallways, we would have to talk about this, because this is something that there's going to be retaliation and consequences if you are to speak out. And so I have a lot of compassion for coworkers of mine and medical professionals who are working in an environment that is hostile to their beliefs, because it's very hard and there's a lot of risks. But in my case, I believe that I made the decision that I was going to be more afraid of, my fear of God was going to be greater than my fear of man and what man can do to me. But that's something that you have to weigh very carefully.
It's really hard to keep pushing crazy ideas and corruption when the whole entire workforce walks out of the hospital. And that's actually something that happened in a Florida hospital. They basically said, if you're going to push, it was a different issue, but it was totally illegal and unethical. If you're going to do this, what are you going to do when 60% of your workforce doesn't show up? What, you're going to manage it with 40? And I wish that we could somehow help them realize the power that they actually have. But it's hard. It's hard for the one person to stand up. You took that courageous stand, but I just keep saying, if one person will just stand up, everybody else will follow, but they don't. And I wish they would.
Yeah. And I have a lot of compassion. I mean, in my case, I was very fortunate to work with an amazing group of attorneys, the Burke Law Group, and I was working with journalists who are on the side of truth. And that's what I encourage people to do, is that use the media and use platforms to your advantage, who are friendly, who are like-minded, who believe in biological truth. I was very fortunate to have those people on my side when I came forward to share my story.
That's awesome.
Vanessa, when you talk about biological truth, it's just such a great term, Obviously, we as moms this has been a huge issue for us as well. Being that you worked you saw what's happening in the gender clinics, I would love to just have you share some advice to the moms that are watching, because this is something that is touching every household and every family in some way. It may not be in your home, but it can be a granddaughter, or it could be a cousin, or it's a neighbor. The gender confusion has infiltrated, and President Trump's doing a great job, fixing a lot of it, but it's still happening. It's still being pushed. I'd love for you to just share some advice to our moms, because this is your specialty.
I have a specific question related to that, because we just had Taryn and her daughter Penny on talking about the social connection and the pressure that they put on it. From a professional on the medical side, what is the impact of this social influence and affirmation that is pushed on these kids that you see?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree wholeheartedly with the fact that social media is a huge driver of this contagion, as you said, and it's one of the main reasons. I think, though, like I said before, I think one of the things that my organization now is really looking to improve, Protecting Texas Children, is looking at the reasons why children are confused in the first place. Getting to the root cause.
Let's get to the bottom
along
of
the
this.
lines of the MAHA movement, of just trying to cut it off before it starts, before this grows inside of the heart and mind of a child, Like I said, so many of these children have abuse in their past. And so I truly believe that one of the things that I'm looking forward to do is partnering with mental health professionals that are on the side of truth, that are not going to affirm a child's false identity. We have psychiatrists and psychologists and counselors who will hide things from parents in schools now.
So unethical.
And will socially transition them, just like we just
They
heard.
did that with Taryn, with Penny.
I'm going to tell you, as a mother, I have no trust or faith in the medical industry or the mental health industry. Zero zip.
Or the educational system.
That too.
So,
Yeah, so where are we supposed to go? That's the big question moms have. So obviously, be very well aware of the social media, understand the influences that they have, be at least as much of an influence in your children's lives as the world is. But okay, great. great, then what do we do when we
Right.
realize there's a problem? Where do we go? Who do we trust?
Exactly. And that's why I think there's a huge opportunity to cultivate like a database, like a network of mental health professionals that are on the side of biological truth and who aren't really on the side of parental rights too, like reaffirming the role of the parent in determining the child's moral and educational upbringing in every sense of the word. And so we really need those mental health professionals.
Agreed.
You might even have to consider the impact and the implication that some parents aren't even seeking the mental health support they need for their children for the fear that the gender ideology is going to be pushed upon them.
That's a very good point.
Yes, it is. That's true.
Yeah.
Especially depending on the state you live in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
To your point, Angelina, if you bring your child to, and a lot of us, our kids, want counseling and all that stuff, you have to vet those counselors and making sure that those counselors then they'll indoctrinate the kids. It's almost like sending them off to college. They come back a different person.
Anybody ever asked you, like, do you have a good attorney? I don't know if you've ever been in legal issues. There was a point in time where I was asked, do you have a good attorney? I'm like, I don't know. How do you answer that question? I don't have any legal background. I don't know if they're a good attorney or not. I don't know how qualified they are. I don't know where they stand on the Constitution. So when we're vetting them, what should we be vetting?
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of wonderful resources out there, even now. I think the tide is turning, as you guys have talked about, where more and more people are aware of what is being done to children, both from a physical point of view, but also the mental grooming, the psychological grooming. And it all starts there, right? No child is put on a puberty blocker just out of thin air. Like there's a process, there's a conveyor belt that they go through. And so part of what Protecting Texas Children is trying to do is to advocate for biological truth, to be on the side of parental rights, and to ultimately empower children and parents with the ability to just protect themselves, and to just advocate for their safety from a mental and psychological perspective.
Are there questions that we can ask the counselors to know the answer? Do you have a good counselor? Do you have a good support system? Do you guys have that on your website?
That's something we're developing.
Oh,
so
good.
this is a very new organization. We just launched a couple of months
Thank
ago.
Thank you for launching it. And I'm thinking even it's because
Can you do this for every
Texas
state?
Parents. You're protecting all parents. What you're doing in Protecting Texas Parents is giving parents in every state an opportunity to go and get the resources and support they need to try and protect and help their children.
Yeah. Another thing that we're really, I'm in Austin on a weekly basis advocating for legislation. Two of the really important bills that I've been working towards is there's a healthcare insurance bill that will mandate that healthcare insurance companies actually cover detransition costs as well. So this
if you're going to mutilate them, fix them.
Yes, which is just a very common sense thing. Like if you're going to irreversibly harm a child, then please also cover the costs of their detransition. And so I'm very excited about that. I think it's going to the governor's desk, so it's passed both chambers. Awesome. But it's legislation that there's so much left to do in the state of Texas.
Thank you, Vanessa, so much for sharing your story and being such a great voice for truth. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Such an honor to be here.
Thank you. All right, well, right after this, Penny's mom, Taryn, is back after this break. She'll share the story of how she went viral at a city council meeting. You're going to love this. Stay with us.
For the moms of Moms for America out there, Cardio Miracle really truly helped me out personally, and I could see that. But it also helped my mom out, it helped my wife out, it helped my sister out, it helped my friends out. I've really seen the benefits, and this is a time for healing our bodies, our minds, and our souls. And Cardio Miracle has done that for me, and I think it also can do it for our moms.
Head to our link, cardiomiracle.com/moms for a discount and to get started today.
Though her daughter Penny is on a path to healing and happiness, Taryn is still advocating for the health and well-being of all kids in Ventura County, California, of all places. At a recent city council meeting, Taryn was scheduled to give a 3-minute comment about the proposed care policy. Now, among other measures, it promotes abortion and gender-altering care. When her speaking time was suddenly cut to 1 minute, here's how Taryn responded.
I'm a mother of 6, and the Ventura County Public School socially transitioned my daughter without my consent. I'm come here today to offer nothing but prayer, and I want to lift up my Father in heaven. Father God, I just come to you in Jesus' name. I pray, Father, that you would tear down the strongholds in this place. I pray, Father, that you would raise up the men in this room. I pray, Father, that you would
stop.
I pray that you would raise up.
Stop the time, speaker.
Everybody on this. Everybody.
Stop.
Yep.
Stop. Thank you. We don't do prayer. Please finish your comments. Finish your comments. Finish your comments, please. You have 28 seconds.
And I do pray all this in the name of the Jesus, the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Jesus is the King of Kings, and he is the Lord of Lords. And I pray that all the high places here will be torn down in the name of Christ. Jesus is the Lord of Lords, and every knee will bow.
Your time is up. Thank you. Your time is up. Bow. Thank you.
I think all we can say is wow.
Right.
That's incredible. Hard to watch.
And when you watch this, I mean, we're all like, holy cow, what was the atmosphere like? How did you know to pray? Amazing.
Yeah.
And this has gone viral, by the way.
Yeah, it's got cumulatively over like 25 million views now.
Amazing.
So I'm like, awesome. It's like the whole, mustard seed. I just came with my little bit, and God was like, so the atmosphere was really intense. I've gone to, rallies and Trump rallies during the heat of all the election season. This was a very mobilized group that was there. If you've ever heard of the group Indivisible, they set up kind of their groups nationwide. It's an LGBTQ plus activism group. They're very mobilized. They're very funded. George Soros. And they were all there. And the author of the care policy is also part of Indivisible. So it's really interesting. They are one of basically the delegates for that district, but they're also part of Indivisible. So it's a very interesting atmosphere. I actually almost got in a fight when I first got there. I had a lady who overheard me just making a video, and she charged me and was like, "Rah!" I mean, they're very unhinged.
No, they didn't sound very friendly.
No, they were not friendly. They were not friendly. So I'm good at de-escalating. So I was able to she actually, to her credit, came back and apologized to me, which I thought was great because you don't typically get an apology. Right. So, but the atmosphere was very volatile. Very volatile. After I prayed, I got out of there because
I'm surprised you got out of there in one piece.
Yeah. There was a lot of police there, which I heard wasn't normal. So there was a lot of police that showed up that night. And so not that they comforted me, because they were actually escorting the other Christian who spoke out as well. So
that's good.
It was an interesting exchange for sure.
So this is the attorney who is taking your case, and my big question is, what are her legal rights? They kept telling her to stop praying. She have a legal right to pray?
Absolutely. She's got the legal right to pray. So the city of Ventura, they allow public comment, and they've opened up this space for citizens to come comment. Well, the cool thing about what Taryn did is that she prayed. Prayer is doubly protected by the First Amendment, both the free speech and free exercise clause. Wow. And so what she did falls fully within the protection of the First Amendment. And so
where is this now? Is there actually...
Yeah, so First Liberty, we sent a demand letter to the city of Ventura and to the mayor, so we sent it to literally everyone on the council and their city attorney and just said, hey, what you did was wrong. Taryn is allowed to pray at these city council meetings. Anyone is allowed to pray during their private citizen time.
Yeah.
And you need to make this right. You need to admit that what you did was wrong.
Oh,
and
that's
you need
to
big ask from a government entity to apologize.
And we are requiring that they get full training on the First Amendment.
Right.
I love it. That's good. Oh my goodness.
We'll hopefully get to school up the city of Ventura a little bit about the First Amendment.
That would be fantastic.
We sure need that in California. To all of these progressive states that just feel like they are going to take over our kids and teach and mentor. I mean, this was just another extension of your mission with your daughter to
Correct.
go there.
I was there to speak because part of the care policy is to basically give immunity to the minor gender affirming doctors and for them to be able to continue gender mutilation on minors. So that was why I was there, is because they're going after the kids again. And
that needed prayer.
With complete immunity.
Yeah, with a complete immunity. And so, and like I know you'd mentioned, I had a speech prepared. I had my talking points.
Sure did.
Clearly, prayer was the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I love that God does that. You know, He'll redirect us. They think they're going to shut you down.
Right.
But, you know, you used it for good.
And it's created quite a local thing there. One of the councilmen's actually a pastor. And so he was then motivated after that happened. He's now has prayer meetings. It's totally set this other thing on fire.
Light the flame.
Yep.
That's
So it's been
Well, thank
neat
you.
to watch.
Thank you, Erin, for coming by and just kind of firming that up as an attorney. And we're really praying for great success in this case. And thank you, Angelina, for joining us on the Mom View. So glad to have you. And thank you to all our moms that are watching. We're here. We're here for you. We say we're the ultimate support group here at Moms for America. The Mom View is an extension, a program where we can talk about today's culture with interesting views, for sure. So themomview.com, that's where you can stop by and find out all the information about the Mom View. And then, of course, follow us on social media, The Real Mom View on Instagram and X and all those fun spaces. So thank you for joining us on the Mom View, and thank you, ladies, for this great discussion. And again, do no harm. Where can moms go to get some help?
January Littlejohn, she has her Do No Harm organization, and also Don't Mess with Our Kids. And we also have educational materials at Moms for America as well, and are going to be building more of a support for the moms like me and who maybe need some support with their children and some guidance through those things. So,
all right. Well, thanks again, and thank you. We'll see you next time.